Needs a teleprompter.
Welcome to the Mid-Ohio Valley Public Forum Video Podcast. This podcast features issues of interest to the residents of the Mid-Ohio Valley area. Right now, with the coronavirus pandemic, civic life has changed greatly throughout our country. Because candidates can't campaign as usual, we're doing this podcast series to help voters get better acquainted with the candidates.
This week, we're interviewing candidates for the Wood County Board of Education. These interviews may be just a little bit longer than the normal podcasts we do because there is a lot of ground to cover. These candidates will only be on the primary ballot. They won't be on the ballot in November. So this is your only chance to find out about them and get informed as a voter before you go to the polls and elect your next Board of Education members.
Local school boards have nurtured and protected our democracy since the founding of free public education by helping see to the education of our future citizens. The local school board governance model is uniquely American. No other national educational system in the world has this form of local control.
Today we'll be interviewing Ron Tice. Ron is the incumbent a Board of Education member for District A. And welcome, Ron. We're so glad you could join us this morning.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity.
With that, we'll dive right in. Tell us a little bit about yourself and describe the district that you'll serve if reelected.
Well, I am 67 years old, and I have taught for 35 years, and I'm a retired school teacher. I have also, I referee volleyball, which I've done for 35 years. And also I run a small business. And the district that I represent is District A. And that district is, it takes in your schools from like Emerson, it was Worthington, McKinley, and the schools in that in Parksburg High School and so forth. We're on the north side of the river. It's what it is.
So Ron, what specific experience, education, knowledge, skills, and perspective do you bring to the table that can be of tangible benefit to the Board of Education? And I know you've touched on this a little bit already, but please elaborate.
Well, I tell you, from the reason I decided to run for the board was because I had taught for 30 years, and I saw that there was a need for somebody to be on the board that represented the, I would say the other side. You normally have people from business and other disciplines, but I found out that having a teacher on there, that they get a different perspective, and they give that to the board. And so when we have different problems or situations that come up, then I can go ahead and and sort of fall back on my background as a teacher. I was a shop teacher, and I taught at 3 different schools here in Wood County. And so, and I came in contact with, a number of students, and also not only that, but I came in contact with the teachers, service personnel, and the administrators and so forth. And I found out that each school has a different set of problems, and sometimes they don't have really anybody to turn to. They don't feel like they have a friend, that's on the board that they can call up and they can say, hey, can you give me some help on this? Or can you talk to somebody that will give me answers to my questions? And I have found that being on the board, that I can do that.
So what are your thoughts on the current state of public education in general and Wood County in particular?
Well, I think in general, I think, we're headed in a good direction. I tell you, in general. And in Wood County, I tell you, with this virus, it really put an emphasis on having technology in the hands of the students. And now what we did in the with this CARES Act, monies were given to us, the county was given, and we purchased iPads. And now every student from 9 to 12, they're going to have their own iPad to take home. And we've already, from the last, this previous year, we started putting iPads in the hands of the elementary schools and the middle schools. And so now every student in Wood County is going to have the opportunity to continue their education if we don't, if we do not have school this coming, and I think this coming year. And I feel like that, this is really going to put Wood County ahead of the curve, because that, even though the kids are not in school, learning can still take place. And in line with that, what we're also going to do, we're going to send out buses that will have hotspots on them. And so the children that do not have access to the internet will be able to get it through those hotspots. And so I feel like Wood County is in a very, very good situation when it comes to, providing the learning, if something would happen. Now, let's say school does go ahead and start, okay, in August. Well, right now, we're doing a really good job of preparing for the opening for next year, especially as you can tell, we have the new school at Williamstown that's going to be opening, a new elementary. We've got the renovations over at the VOTEC that is going to help. We're going to offer some new programs, so forth, over there also. And also we're going ahead and we're doing a number of things with security, which I may get into that a little bit later, but I feel like that we're really in a good position.
That's great to hear.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're elected to the board again, what's one thing you really want to accomplish during your next term?
Well, I tell you what I want to see done is that I want to see more students graduate. We do have a high, right now we do have a high rate, but it can be better. It can always be better. And I feel like, with the programs that were put in place like last year, and we started actually the year before with iReady, our math scores we're like third in the state in math now, where we were really down below. And now what we're working on is also the English, but the iReady programs, I'm big on academics. I really feel that, that's why I got on the board, really, I want to see more children have the opportunity to get a better education in Wood County, and that's the whole reason I'm doing it.
So what is your understanding of the responsibilities of the Board of Education, and what do you see as the primary role of a board member?
Well, I tell you, there's different duties that the board members are really, I wouldn't say required to do, but it's just what has to be done. And like one of them is adopting policies. When a new policy comes in place or something, we have to do it. A good example of that is the drug policy. We had to adopt the drug policy, and we did a very, very thorough review of it before we put it in place. Another thing is adopting the budget. We had our budget meeting last Saturday, and we're very fortunate. We're very fortunate that we have a very good superintendent and also a very good treasurer, and they kind of stay ahead of the game, and so anyway, but we went over the budget line by line. Another thing is we oversee the construction and renovation of facilities. We make sure that everything is going as planned, and if there is a problem, then the superintendent will address it. The other thing is we sometimes when there is a grievance with a service member or a board member, I mean, not a board member, but a service or teachers, we have to serve as like a appeal court, basically. But and then we also have to make sure that we're implementing the instructional programs that are required by the state and so forth. Now, what was the second part of that? I missed out.
So what do you see as the primary role of a board member?
I think, I really think it can't be really one primary. It has to be a number of things, but if I was going to say I can only do one thing, it would be to oversee the budget and make sure the monies are being spent, that the taxpayers have given us and the state has given us, make sure they're being used wisely, make sure that that we are getting the most bang for our buck, really. And so that there isn't any waste.
So you've touched on this a little bit as well. Can you expound a little bit on the relationship of the Board of Education members to the superintendent and kind of define a little bit more of their roles?
Well, I tell you, the way I look at it is, we're sort of like a big company, and the superintendent is the chief operating officer, and we're the CEOs. And so what happens is, normally, the superintendent, we look to him for leadership and to lead the county. And so what he does, he comes up with different things that need to be done in the county, comes up with, all the other situations that need to be addressed. And then he brings it to the board. And then as a group, we go ahead and, we discuss that. And each person and just, has their own opinion of the matter. And then we sit around and we discuss it. And that's what a Board of Education member is going to do. They're not going to, you can't change policy by yourself. That's why they call it Board of Education. And so you sit around and you discuss and you try to come to some type of agreement. And then we vote. Sometimes we all are in agreement with the superintendent on things. Sometimes we say, no, you'll have to back off, and so that happens. But but right now I can tell you that where I sit right now, the Board of Education, this group is working exceptionally well with the superintendent, exceptionally well. And also, not only that, the office personnel, his central office staff, we get along very well with him. And so, we're all protection, and it makes our job a lot easier as board members when we see eye to eye with the superintendent and also the central office staff. And then, so it just makes, I just feel like it just makes our job so much easier. And that's about it on that question.
So Wood County schools have been facing a severe budgetary crisis. Give us a little bit of insight into that and how you think it needs to be addressed going forward.
Well, I tell you that it's no secret. It's no secret that Wood County schools are losing population, and every time we lose a student, we lose $7,000. Okay, and we have lost close to 900 students in 5 years, and so and there is no reason for us to believe that we're not going to continue to lose students. And so what we have to do, in fact, we are concerned that with our budget meeting that we had, that maybe because of this virus, we're going to have a cutback by the state on our budget. And so what we've done, we've put in place, we found out approximately how much it might be. And so, we're going to try, hopefully it won't be cut back, but if it does, we're going to be able to continue the services and things that we want to go ahead and do. There's so many programs that are offered offered through, we use the monies that we get from the state and also of the federal monies. And we have a cutback. We have a cutback on that. So anyway, but the right now, with our budgets, we're going to go ahead. And one of the things I think is we're having a permanent fund and that we didn't have before. And we're trying to save money for the taxpayers so that what we're doing, we're putting in money aside that's going to be used. Let's say you've got to replace a roof. Well, right now we don't have any money to do that. And we have to take that out, whatever the taxes that we collect. And so, well, we are going to initiate a program where we put in additional monies out of the budget, and that stays there. And then later on, we're going to try to use that money to, build, if we have to build another school or something like that. And then we'll have money set aside where other board, I know other boards have talked about not having a fund like that. And they were worried about how are we going to replace this roof at this school. Well, now we are looking ahead and we're trying to stay ahead of the game. And I hope the taxpayers appreciate that. Because I tell you, I am as long as I'm on the board, I'm not going to vote for another bond. I mean, I think that, we have come to the taxpayers. We have, asked them repeatedly, and they have given us everything that we have wanted. And I think there comes a time where, we need to go ahead and step out on our own, unless there is a very, very dire emergency and we would need it. But I'm on I'm just on the track that we've done enough. We passed this last bond, 41 million, and I think that is good to go. And everything else, we don't need to burden the taxpayers any longer. That's all there is to it.
Wood County schools have lost critical funding for various reasons. And the problem with that is that if it goes too far, you run the risk of the state stepping in and taking over the school, mm-hmm. and you lose the local control. So right. Can you tell me your thoughts about that?
Well, I tell you, we were really, you have a contingency fund and you have to have a certain amount of money, a certain percentage, and we were getting close to that. Now, we would have been really, really in dire straits if we had not consolidated schools or closed schools. And the problem that we have here in Wood County, we have the same amount of students that Cabell County has. It's like a 200 difference. Well, we have 31 buildings. Well, they have 20. Well, the state looks at us and says, you guys need to start cutting, consolidating schools, because, you can't stretch that money out any further. It's been stretched to where, and now we're getting less money. Instead of being able to get $1 to put it to every school, they cut us back. And now because we lost students, we only have 90 cents. So it's a big difference. And so, we were in dire straits, but since we have closed the 3 schools, we're going to be all right. We'll be all right for the coming year. I don't have any problems whatsoever, and no sleepless nights worrying what is going to happen, because I do not, and not only me, but the other board members, we are not going to cut services. That's all there is to it. We are not going to do it. But we're right now, we're in good shape.
You've touched on this a little bit as well. Education will be changing in the post-COVID-19 world. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on our preparedness and how that will look for students and teachers and parents and all stakeholders?
Well, I feel like, Wood County is in a as of last night, when and it was because of the CARES Act that they gave us some money. That's where the money came from. It wasn't taxpayers. It came from the federal government, and that allowed us to purchase, these computers. And, our superintendent is really big on technology. He's very, very big. And that's why he, his vision is to move us along in that direction where, the students will have those computers. And I feel like Wood County, you're never, ever going to replace a teacher. Never. I don't care how many computers you give the student. You cannot do without that one-on-one time with the student and the teacher. That's all there is to it. And so I feel like Wood County, because of this, later on down the road, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to say what's going to happen in another year. It's hard to say what's going to happen in 3 months. I tell you, but we are trying to stay ahead of the curve at Wood County Schools is. And so I just feel like that, no matter what is thrown at us, the people that our teachers, our service personnel, our administrators, those people are, they are working all the time to improve services in Wood County. And no matter what is thrown at them, we are going to triumph over it. I'm telling you, I see it, all the time, and a good example, I tell you, a really good example is providing meals to these students. We go out of our way to make sure every student is fed. If somebody needs it, and that is going on here, starts at 11 o'clock that they're going to start. But we're going to see to it that every child that needs a meal, they're going to be fed. And I just feel like that, I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate to be on the board and make sure that everything is taken care of for those students. And I just feel like no matter what happens in August or what happens in January, we're going to be all right. We'll be all right.
Children must be educated and protected at the same time. So because of the COVID virus, we're looking at different things. So how do you feel about the following 3 things? Number 1, implementing professional education on remote learning platforms for the instructors, the teachers.
Well, you mean are we talking about providing
education for the teachers?
Right. Well, we do have continuing ed on that. And if something would come up and they said, someone would come up and they'd say, we're not going to have school in August, September, I can guarantee you that we would have some type of continuing education, some type of a way of getting information to those teachers. They would be prepared to teach the students. I have no problem with that whatsoever. We will make sure, as a board, we would make sure that would happen.
Second thing, class sizes in regards to the need to do social distancing. What are your thoughts about that?
See, that's the problem. That's one of the things that I'm really concerned with, because, I don't feel comfortable as, letting 2 students that they're going to be closer than 6 feet apart. And I don't feel comfortable knowing that maybe one student may have the virus and we don't have a vaccine. And I know the vaccine is not going to be available, here soon, but that is the only way that we can guarantee that those students will be in a safe environment. And I just don't feel secure in saying, well, let's go ahead and open those schools back up, and I know, and of course, it's not going to be the Board of Education's call per se, it's going to be the governor's. And the governor is he's going to ask the people, but, I just feel like, even if you test a student when he comes to school, okay, when he goes back home, he may catch it at home or outside or somewhere, maybe on the bus, and you don't know that. And then he comes back to school and then he starts infecting all the other students. We're faced with a real dilemma, to be honest with you. And I wish I had the answer, but I don't. I'm looking for the leadership coming from the governor, and then we'll decide on what we have to do.
Okay. Third thing, how do we protect the elementary students with regards to the hand hygiene?
Well, believe it or not, I have a niece that teaches kindergarten, and she makes each one of them wash their hands continuously. When I was up there watching her, I couldn't believe it. And this was before the virus came, and she said, "Yeah, everybody's got to have clean hands." Now, it's just like with everything else. I tell you, you can go ahead and you can show them, and you can give them examples, and you can stand over top of them. But as far as am I going to be able to make sure each and every student, they might wash their hands, but they can go ahead and be infected. That's a tough situation. And as an ex-teacher, I'm telling you, when you're trying to watch 25 students, I taught shop class, and my job was to make sure that none of those students ever got hurt in that shop class, and no one ever did. And I felt like that I did my job as an educator. I tried to show them how to do things, and but no one got hurt. And I tell you, that was the one big thing that when I became a shop teacher is to make sure that everybody walked away with all their fingers, because I'm telling you, it does happen. But I was really high on safety. And I tell you, if they were using machines, and when we used the machines, you had to have safety glasses on. You had to roll your sleeves up. You couldn't have your watches on. You couldn't have rings on. But getting back to washing your hands, like I said, you can make those students wash their hands, but once they've washed their hands, you cannot. How do you know they're not going to? They'll be fine that for the next 5 or 10 minutes, but until you turn your head, it's hard to watch. It really is.
Yeah, that's I can't imagine trying to enforce good hand hygiene and all that with especially the younger grades.
Mm-hmm.
So Wood County has teacher vacancies and a lack of substitutes.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the Board of Education can or should do to retain and recruit teachers?
Well, I tell you that this problem that we're facing, it's just we're not unique to it. It's all over. It's all over. And what can we do? Well, there's a couple things, and there's one thing we are doing about the subs. But getting into teachers, we just have to we have to go to all those colleges, or when they have their field days and so forth, or we have to try to recruit better. I think, but there's only so many teachers being, that are graduating each and every year. And so, and they're going to go where the best, the best salary is, the best. Now, what can we do in Wood County? Well, we can just offer them a good package on that, and also offer them, show them the advantages of Wood County schools. Why? Show them how good we are with academics. You want to, because I can tell you that when you're fresh out of college, you want to go to a good county. You want to go to a county that is very financially sound. That's not worried about if I'm going to teach 1 year and then I'm going to get ripped out of my job the next. You have to, and so that we have to show them the benefits of teaching in Wood County. Now, on the substitutes, we have a hard time with substitutes, and there might be days where we can't get a substitute. Now, we do have there's a state policy called 5202, and we started that this past year, and that 5202 allows, if you have a 4-year college degree, then you can go ahead and take these classes from WVU and then be certified, and you're allowed to be a sub. You can't be a long-term sub, but you can be a short-term sub. And we've done that, and we've have a number of people out of industry, especially ones that have retired from industry, and they have been, they have lost their job. And they're looking, like that. We picked up a couple chemistry teachers that lost their job at DuPont. Well, this is great. And now, the problem is, once again, they're long-term subs, or they can't be long-term subs. They can only be 30-day subs. And that is a problem we're facing. Yeah. And that's about all I have on the subs.
Well, for the past several decades, schools have been facing ever greater threats to safety.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in school, many eons ago, we had fire drills, and that was about it. These days, students have fire drills, they have active shooter drills,
Mm-hmm.
and in addition to those sort of threats, you also have cyber threats. What do you think the board can or should do about increasing safety for the schools?
Well, that's a really good question, because I tell you, the first thing is we're building these safety, they call them vestibules, and you'll see. In fact, one, we are working on one at Emerson right now. Madison is almost finished. Parkersburg High, we're just waiting for some doors. South, we're just putting the finishing touches on theirs. But all the schools, every school in the county, we are taking care of those safety, the openings. So when, we do not want a parent to be able just to barge right on through. And we're going to have a little, they call it a man trap. And so we go in there, and so you will talk to a secretary, and then she will buzz you in, and so we're trying, and that's going to eliminate, a lot of problems that we've had in the future, to be honest with you. And so now, and that's going to help security tremendously there. We do have, police officers in our middle schools and also in our high schools. Now we are trying to get them in the elementaries. I have always been, once I got on the board, the first thing I was concerned with mineral wells, because it is so far out there, and we only have a deputy to do that. But they advised me, they told me that there was no monies available yet to do that. But I feel like anytime that something comes up and we have additional monies, we need to have an officer. And like also Glenner has it Elementary, and that they're out there, they're away from everybody. And so I feel like that they need somebody. They do have somebody in the middle school, and they can come across. But I just feel like, I would feel better as a board member, and, knowing that there is an officer in every school if something should happen. And that, it can, and that will, time is of the essence when you're dealing with an emergency issue. And we need to have, some type of police, police there to help out. As far as cyber issues, we have controls. We have controls on our internet system, and so and that was one of the things people were saying. Well, if you give computers, you give iPads to every student, how are you going to keep them from, when they go home, using them to go on, other sites that they shouldn't be on? Well, we can lock them down. We can lock, and we control it. It's just like, we put in, and we can tell what sites you will never be allowed to go, and so forth. And so I'm not worried about the cyber, with the computers. Not worried at all about that. And so, what was the first one? I know it was about site, and what was your first question on?
You covered it.
About the active shooter.
The active shooter drills.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know that the teachers, they are being trained with the active shooter drills. So they will know what to do if the situation should arise. So yeah, they have a continuing ed, and they're required to do that. They're required. So yeah. So we're in good shape there.
What are your thoughts on special education, either for advanced students or for students who might need a little bit more help in our county?
Well, I tell you, I'm all for providing any type of service that is needed. And it doesn't make any difference if it's low level or high level, anything that will help that student, with their education, and I'm all for it. I said, and if we have to, appropriate some money or move funds from one. We have different classes of funds to do that. I'm all for it. Anything you can do to help that child, to succeed, I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm. So this is a two-part question. What will you enjoy the least about serving on the board if you're reelected? And what will you enjoy the most?
First of all, I really enjoyed being on the board. And the only reason, and the main reason I enjoy being on board is because I get to help so many people. And as and being on and I'm on, the other side of the desk, where when I was a teacher, I couldn't do anything like that. But now I'm in a position where I can help, students. Students call me too, believe it or not. Students, I can help teachers. I can help service personnel. I can help parents. Sometimes I just I got a question last night. They were worried about the and this is a good example. The lady that runs Red Wings, she was wanting to know, could I have tryouts? Who do I talk to find out about tryouts? When can I do it? And I was more than happy to help her, and she appreciated that, and that's one of the, that's just one of the things I really enjoy. The least, I tell you, the worst experience and I really, really felt bad about it, because closing schools, it really bothers me, but I know we have to do it. But it really, it really gets to me, because I know that's, schools, especially Waverly, that is a community school, and that community revolves around that school. And I hated to close it, but we had to, because we just can't afford to keep it open. And they just, it really bothered me. That was the worst thing. Yeah.
With that, we'll move into the hot seat. There are issues in education today that could be considered hot button issues.
Okay.
These tend to get a lot of interest from the public and have been known to divide school boards and communities. Some of the issues are especially controversial, and a few of them have come up here in Wood County.
So we'd like to get your brief take on these issues. For this section, we would like to use a rapid fire format where you answer by giving us a one word or one sentence answer. You support, you don't support, or you support with qualifications.
With that, we'll go to random drug testing of students.
Yes, I approve of that. Yes. And the reason
oh, sorry.
If you want, and I just feel like, that the ones that we test, and the reason is just the extracurricular activities, and that is, and I just feel like if you are going to do an extracurricular activity, then you should be willing to subject yourself to that. I mean, it's not a, it's a privilege to do that. It's not required. Okay.
Random drug testing of teachers and school personnel.
Yes, I tell you, I'm on the fence on that one. I understand where it needs to be done, but there's so many federal laws and the laws and the state law. We just can't get around it. I mean, they're all protected. Do I feel like they need to be tested? It's hard for me to say, to be honest. As a teacher, as an ex-teacher, it wouldn't bother me if they tested me. Now, I think it's a personal issue. It really is. And so the thing is, there's right now, the way it's set up, unless we have a problem, with a particular teacher, and it needs to be tested, we just don't do it. And I think right now, in the environment we're in today, that's the way to go. It really is.
School consolidation.
School, well, as I told you before, yeah, I tell you, I don't like to do it, but it's a necessary evil for a school system, for a county board, especially county board of education, to survive. You know, you only have so much money, and you have to be able to stretch that money and encompass all the students, you know, all the buildings, you know, everything that is needed to run a school system. Okay, it has to be, you know, you only have so much money. And so sometimes you have to consolidate based on attendance. Sometimes, you know, you consolidate because it's just costing too much to keep the school open, and transportation costs, maintenance costs, and so forth. And I can see, but yes, I'm in favor of school consolidation when it is 100% needed. And the facts, and I think before any decision is made to do school closures or school consolidation, you need to have all the data that is available and then base your decision on it.
Expending money to make schools more green and energy efficient.
Yes, 100%. And I'll tell you why. I'm glad you asked me that, because we got a company called CMTA. And right now they're going around and they're putting in new LED lights in all the buildings. Some buildings are also getting new windows, which have been needed for years. Some of them their windows are 25 years old. And so, but we're putting in, I tell you, when you go to the schools now, and starting in the fall, if they open up, thank God, I hope they do, that you'll be amazed at how bright and everything is. This company called CMTA is going to end up saving the county a lot of money. I don't have the figures in front of me, but just by switching lights, putting in new heating and air conditioning systems, the taxpayers are going to be really happy with it, because it's, you know, we're going to get our money back.
Providing vouchers for school choice.
Well, I tell you, I'm not in favor of any type of vouchers, and the reason I'm not is because I just feel like that you know, I know you're a taxpayer and you pay the money, but I feel like we need that money to operate our own schools. And when you take that initiative and say, well, I decided that, you know, I'm going to go ahead and do this, then, you know, I think you're taking away from the other students in that school. And so so I'm against it.
Establishing charter schools.
No. Another no. Once again, you know, there aren't any studies out there that show that charter schools do better than the public schools. There aren't. And you may, and there are a number of them that are out there that have failed and have cost the taxpayers money. And I just, you know, I'm against charter schools. I know that West Virginia is going to try to adopt them. There are a number of, you know, they're going to put, I believe it's 3 in the next 2 years or something like that. But it hasn't, there is a criteria for those charter schools. And I think I was looking at them and I had to do a little paper. It was 27 different categories that they have to fulfill. And, you know, and then but I'm still not convinced that's the best way to go. I still feel like public education is the right way. That's just my opinion.
Cutting arts and elective subjects to concentrate on the basics.
Well, no, I am against that totally. I tell you, in fact, one of the things when I ran for the board, one of the things was to establish the instrumental music program back into the schools the way it had been before. Now, I don't know if you went to schools, public schools here in Wood County, but it used to be that the junior high, back in my day, the junior high teacher would drop down to the elementary school and provide the instruction. And then those kids would have, you know, they would have some familiarity with that when they went to the middle school or the junior high. And then they knew, they worked with the high school teacher, and they knew exactly what was needed at the high school to make the Big Red Band and the Parkersburg South Band great. And so anyway, and also don't forget the Williamstown Band. But the thing is, the last couple of years, what they did, they hired one person to oversee all the elementaries, and then on one side of the river and one person on the other. And so what happened was they tried to work with the middle school, but they didn't. And so now, starting next year, we're going to go back to the old way. And so that middle school teacher will now drop down in to the elementaries, and they will interact with those twice a week. And so so if your child, let's say, is going to Madison, okay, then the instructor from Van Devener will go to Madison and provide instruction for your child. And that's the way it should be. And they did away with it a couple of years ago, and I fought like crazy when I got on board. It was already done, and it took me 2 more years to get it passed. But I when we got our new superintendent, I told him this is the one initiative that needs to be changed, because what is happening, and I got complaints from the parents, the bands, the participation was dropping. And so now it's going to take a couple of years, but they're going to have those kids back in there. And that was one of the things. I just feel like the arts, the choir, I think the choirs are very, very important. And also the debate clubs. Those kids, there's a lot of kids that debate club is their whole life. I mean, it really is. When I was at South, I knew that. And those kids, you could tell, and they were all excited, and they looked forward to that. I can't see cutting things like that just to make, to put in another math class. I just can't do that. I think the arts are very, very important.
Increasing instructional staff and decreasing administrative staff.
Well, I tell you, we have a situation here in Wood County where you always have the teacher saying we need less administrators, and you always have the administrator saying, well, we need more help, and we're trying to strike a balance. My view on it is, I feel like that, based on the number of students that are in that school, that's what should drive your decision, whether you have a principal or not. I've heard that, why don't we have we have a separate principal for the middle school, at the new middle school up at Williamstown. Well, they're only going to have 300 students, so we don't need another administrator. Those other people can do that. They can take that load. So you have to let the data drive your decisions, and that's the way I look at it. And if we need an extra one here, then we're going to do it. I feel like we do need an extra, two administrators over at Jefferson, because of the type of student that is in there, and they need the additional, all the additional attention that those students can get. I feel like that is the way to go. I think that if I'm going to spend money, that's what I'm going to spend it on. And then if we need additional teachers, if we need more interventionists, I'm going to see that it gets put in. I will talk with our superintendent if I feel like, the teachers call me up, and they do ask me, why is this happening? What's this? And then I go and check it out and find out. And sometimes, some things weren't brought to the right people. And I said, and that's one of the things with being on the board, I can help those people. And I just feel like, in this situation, the data has to do it. It drives your decision.
Increasing the cost of dental insurance, which was secured in lieu of a pay raise.
Well, here's the deal on that. The dental insurance, that it was given long time ago as a perk, but we found out our dental, it was costing the county, we were like, I think it was between $21 and $24 million in the hole, and there was no way that we could continue operate in a program that operates to do that. I mean, we had to take money out of our general fund to pay for that each and every year. Well, you can't do that. And so what we decided was we're going to have to change the dental. We're going to have to try to make it fair for everyone. And I know the Wood County teacher retirement, they were getting, they were using their $30 that were given for their dental and so forth. But for us to be financially sound and be fair to everybody, we had to change the dental. We had one of the perks of that dental program was that, and I'll tell you, and this is why it was one of the best in the country. Once you paid $100 deductible, you never paid another deductible again. Never. It didn't make a difference if you're there for a year or 40 years. And so so that's why we were losing money. And so now everybody has to pay a deductible, and it's more than fair. When we looked at it, the private sector, we checked the private sector, and you're still, as being going with Wood County, it's still cheaper. It's still cheaper, and so we can, and it's a good program. And so but that was one of the things, and I understand there was some hard feelings about that. And then when they came to the meeting, it was explained to them why, so forth and so on. But we actually couldn't find anything in the minutes about that perk when it was voted on. That's what was funny. But it, nobody ever said anything. But it's taken care of now, and the dental program is on really sound financial footing now, and that's good.
Reducing the number of personal days that are allowed to be cashed in at retirement.
Well, I'm trying to. What are we talking about? Are we talking about the administrators, or talking about there's a question on that, because see, when I think it's about the administrators, because the teachers, when they changed the system, but you were allowed to accumulate your sick leave days, and you could use them for pay, or you could use them for insurance. Okay, now the administrators, they give them 24 days a year, but they can only accumulate up to 48. Okay, and then if they don't use those 48 days, then they lose. I think it used to be 50, and they were talking about cutting that back. We were talking about cutting it back, and I don't know if that's going to happen, to be honest with you. We're still in talks with that, to cut those days back. And also, the way that it's set up now with new teachers and so forth, if they don't use those days, they lose them. So it's not a good situation. It's not a good situation. But and I understand their concern about it. I really do. And because that was one of the things I always tried to keep from missing days. And so when I retired, I had 330 days. And so what you do is, in the old days, 90 days equaled a year. So they allowed you to use those 330 days as experience. So when you do your retirement, it was an extra 2% for every 90. So it does help in the long run, but that's a thing of the past. That's a thing of the past. So that's all I can do on that. I mean, that's all I have on that. Like I said, it's in negotiations about cutting the back on the administrators and so forth because of the dates, because of the 48, because we're trying to save the money. And if something would happen, and we have, and if for some unknown reason that the state would come in and say, instead of we were going to cut you back 3%, we're going to cut you back 6%, then I guarantee you that it would be looked at really, really hard, and we would have to cut corners where we have to stay afloat, and the people would just have to understand that, and I know that once you start talking about cutting people's pay and all that, then they get all upset, and I understand that, and then and then grievances start flying out from everywhere about this, that, and whatever. And so, and I understand that, because I was on the other side of the fence when I was teaching too, and I didn't want them to cut in my benefits. And so, but some things, sometimes you have to do it for the betterment of the county. You really do, and you're and the reason you're there is because of the kids, and you have to make sure that you're offering those kids the services and the educational opportunities that they need. And we have to do that.
Well, that leads right into the next one, reducing the student to teacher ratio.
Right. I tell you what happens, that, you know, that ratio is set by law. And so we try, you know, to run an efficient school system, you try to get those numbers as close as possible. Sometimes it can't be helped. Can it be reduced? Yes and no. You got to keep in mind that, you know, if you're going to reduce those student teacher ratio, you might lose a teacher. Okay. And there you have the teacher saying, well, why did you get rid of that job when you had that many people? And so it's really a balancing act. And so, you know, we have some schools, and that was one of the reasons that, you know, we wanted to close Worthington to put those kids in with Emerson. We checked, and they had, you know, class sizes of 10 and 11 when they're supposed to have 22. I mean, you're wasting money by, and then class at Worthington had 10 or 11. Well, right there, you put the two together, you save a salary. I know the teacher loses their job, but they will have the opportunity to get a position somewhere else. But you're saving that money, you know, right there. And so it's just a balancing act, and it all boils down to dollars and cents. It really, that's what the bottom line is.
So PEIA and pension protection.
I don't know what you're looking for.
Do you support?
Oh,
Support protecting them, not support?
Supporting the PEI health insurance plan? And so I'm wondering, yes, oh yes, I support that. Yeah, I had PEI too. Oh yes, yeah. I tell you, the PEI insurance for teachers, state employees, it is excellent. It is excellent, and I have no qualms about supporting them whatsoever. I said, you know, I think that, you know, when I go to work as a teacher or administrator or whatever, you know, I want to make sure that if I get sick, that I'm going to be taken care of, you know. And I just feel like that PIA, they have excellent health, they have excellent coverage, and so yes, I would support it tremendously. Yes.
With that, we've come to the end of the hard questions.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the hard ones. Okay. What's the easy ones? I thought those were the hard ones, but that's all right.
They were. These are easy. What would you say are your personal core values?
Personal core. I tell you, the thing that kind of, you know, and anyone that has ever come in contact with me, or even the students, they know that I'm going to do the right thing, no matter what. Now, and I go out of my way to make sure that, you know, that everybody gets a fair shake, and so, you know, there's people out there that think that, you know, just because you know this person or you know that person, that you're going to do this or you're going to do that or you're going to vote that way. And I tell them that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I said, I'm going to do what I feel down in my heart, deep down in my heart, this is the correct way or the correct decision. And I just keep that, you know, when I sit on the board and I have to make decisions, I base them on how is it going to affect that child, and how is it going to affect all the students in Wood County, because I represent the whole county. I just don't represent one school, or I don't represent, you know, this particular group or this particular, you know, club or something. I have to do what is best for the whole county, and I have to be consistent. And that's what I try to do. It's just that, you know, the core value is that I'm going to try to do the right thing and get, and if you ever have any dealings with me, you're going to realize that I'm going to be fair. I'm going to be fair. And I tell you, when, you know, as I told you before, I referee volleyball, and I tell you, the coaches respect me because they know no matter what, they're going to get a fair shake, no matter what. And that's why I've done it for so many years. I enjoy doing it. And I think that has carried over. It's carried over, you know. I think that was one of the reasons that I got elected, is because the people know that if you got a question or you got a problem with the school system, all you got to do is pick up the phone and call me, and I will help you. I will help you. You know, I don't have another job. I do run this business, but I can shut it down on a minute's notice. And if I have been called where if I have to go to a school, there's a problem here. You know, and so I will go to that school and I'll, you know, and ask the principal, can I walk around? Can I do this and that? And make sure I go through the proper channels, and then, you know, and see what I can do to help you. And I think that's one of the reasons that I got elected, is because they know that, you know, I'm there, and I'm trying to let them know that I'm going to be their voice. I'm going to be their voice. Okay. And that's the answer to that short question, isn't it? I'm sorry. I told you.
So as a person,
Mm-hmm.
what are you passionate about?
Well, I tell you, I approach each and every day. You know, I sort of have a different outlook, and the people that know me, I try to always, you know, see the good things in everyone. I really do, and you know, and I'm passionate about, you know, making sure that, you know, if somebody needs something, you know, I'm going to try to help them. You know, I will go out of my way to help you, and it doesn't make any difference what it is. And if I can't help you, then I'm going to try to find somebody that can. You know, and I just do that way, and that's you know, that's the whole thing. I just try to, each and every day, I try to see if I can help somebody, and I, you know, I am, you know, talking about passionate. I do love animals. You know, as you saw the cat go by, I do love animals. I can't see hurting them. I can't see, you know, if I find some type of, you know, animal that's in distress or anything, I'll go and pay for it. They were, you know, they were making fun that I had a stray, and I paid $1,200 to get him fixed. I did not want to see him die. And so I paid the $1,200, and the kids at school were laughing. He said, "You paid $1,200 to have that cat fixed?" And I said, "Yes." So he was in the hospital, and I didn't want to see him die. And so I fixed him. And then I made him my pet. He was an outside stray, but he turned into a house cat after that. And I took care of him.
So you've touched on that you are a volleyball referee.
Uh-huh.
What else do you like to do in your off time?
Well, I tell you, I love playing tennis. I do a lot of tennis. I run the men's tennis league over to City Park, and I'm hoping we're going to have a season. Don't know yet, but I do love to play tennis. I tell you, and then during the winter, I'll play pickleball, and I enjoy doing that. I enjoy working on my car. I do that. I also, you know, I do enjoy, you know, believe it or not, I enjoy cutting grass. I just enjoy getting out there and start cutting. I like being outside, to be honest with you. And so anytime I can get outside, I'm out there. And so I enjoy doing that. And I also, I like being on the computer, and I enjoy, I do some day trading. I enjoy doing day trade. And, you know, these past 6 weeks has been really good. And when that one took a nice little dive, but I enjoy doing that too. And so, but if I had to pick one thing, it would be, if I had my others, I would be out playing tennis each and every day if I could. And if I wanted a teacher, I'd have loved to have been a tennis pro or somebody, or a tennis player. I just love doing it. And you make a lot of friends. You meet a lot of people. I tell you, it's just good, and it's good exercise, and I think it keeps you young.
So, Ron, what is the most unique thing about you?
I tell you, the most unique thing is I think it would be my sense of humor. There is no matter what the situation, no matter what the situation, I can always come up. I can always come up with some type of comment to enlighten the situation, you know. And also, I had I when I was in school, and this kind of got me in trouble a lot. I have what they call instant feedback. That's what they refer to it as. And so, if there was anything question or something asked, I quickly answered. Automatic feedback. No matter what's going on, I'm going to give you a quick answer. So I had, as I've grown older, I tried to slow that down. But you know, I do have like I said, I just see things that you know, it can always, you know, it can always be better. It can always be better, you know, and I always have you know, no matter what the situation, I can always come up with some type of comment, you know, to enlighten everybody. And I can see you all will start laughing too, because I know we've talked before. And it does. That's it. And anyone that comes in contact with, I've never met a stranger. I've never met a stranger. And I just think that I got that trait. I got that trait from my mother. And I think we'll let it go at that.
My kids did too. So with that, we've come to the end. We'd like to give you a few minutes to tell us and the voters anything we need to know about you. If there's anything you want to let them know about your prior service on the board, or how to get more information on your campaign, how to get in touch with you, or donate, get involved, etc. Now's your time. The floor is yours.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for giving me this opportunity. I really do. And so in those lights, I know you're laughing. In those lights, I would ask that the people the people who are going to watch this, or anyone who's just interested in the education of the children in Wood County, that, you know, my number one priority is to see that they are afforded the best opportunity to get an education here in Wood County. And I will do whatever it takes to make that happen. And the people that know me know that. And if you're undecided on who to vote for right now, you know, and you want to discuss an issue that you have personally, or something, or you just want to chat about what is happening in the schools now, feel free to call me. You can reach me at 304-428-6228. And if I do not happen to be in, then please leave it on my answer. I definitely will call you back. If you want to send me an email, I can be reached. My email address is listed on the Wood County Board of Education website, and it's a Ron Tice thing, WVU. They advised us not to give our personal email, so I'm not going to. But if you'll do that, I'll be more than happy to talk to you. If you want to come down my shop, where it's located at 2603 Murdoch Avenue, there across from Don Emilio's, you're more than happy. You're more than happy to come down, and I will be, and I will talk to you. And with that, I'm going to leave it at that. I do appreciate everybody, you know, you all taking the time. And by all means, to everyone out there, please get out and vote, or vote by absenteeism. Mail in the vote, you can do that. But, you know, I feel like, even, you know, it's important that everybody gets out and vote, no matter who your choice is for the candidate. Your voice needs to be heard. And I'm going to leave it with that.
With that, thank you, Ron.
You are welcome.
We appreciate so much you taking the time to talk to us this morning, and we've enjoyed it. Everyone, wash those hands.
Okay. Thank you.
For anyone else watching this podcast, if you're a local candidate and you'd like to be interviewed, reach out to us. You can contact us through the Facebook page, that's MOV Public Forum, via email at movpublicforum@gmail.com. We also have a Twitter, also MOV Public Forum, and you can find us on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is MOV Public Forum. Stay safe, everybody.